Hello, I'm Nigel Powell. I play drums for Frank Turner, and this is my drum kit. Hello, drum kit. The drums themselves are all made by a company near Boston called SJC Custom Drums, who are fantastic, wonderful people. The way I ended up with the kit that I've got was they came to me and said, "What woods do you want?" And I went, "I don't know." And they said, "Well, send us some albums of, it's like examples of stuff you like and where you think the drums sound good." So I sent them a few things and they came back with a suggestion and I said, yeah. There was bits of Surfer Rosa by the Pixies was there, a couple of bits of old Phil Collins stuff. Beyond that, I can't remember, so. And this is the crew. I think that's not very helpful to the
That's you ready now, just until the gig. Just stay there. Don't.
Excellent. Thanks, Doug. I ended up with birch toms. I did kind of think I wanted birch toms. My sizes are not that usual. I go 10, 13, 16. Whenever you get sold a kit, well, certainly when I was growing up, because I'm quite old, like 5-piece kits, the toms were always 12, 13, 16, and I never understood that, because you tune them so the drums sounded good within themselves, and they go bim, bim, boom, whereas you space them out evenly, and they actually kind of make musical notes, da, da, da. There's an actual range to them instead of the two rack toms being almost the same and the floor tom being much deeper. So that's why I go 10, 13, 16. Also, I used to use the 12-inch snare, so keeping the diameter of the snare different to the toms was good. I wanted standard depth toms because power toms always sound a little kind of tubby to me. So I think it's a 10 by 9. 13 by 11 and a 16, I think it's 16 by 16, so the floor tom's the kind of deeper depth just for that kind of boom kind of sound. On the toms, they also have reinforcement rings inside because I wanted quite thin shells, or they suggested quite thin shells. So it's got re-rings, which is similar to another kit I had. The snare is 14, the snare's actually maple rather than birch. For a bit of extra warmth. It's 14 by 7. I like kind of deeper snares. For a long time I used a 12 by 7, which was it had the kind of small drum ping and attack to it, but the depth gave it that kind of raunch in the bottom end, which I liked. So I stuck with 7, even though now I've gone to 14. When I first got it from SJC, I used it with wood hoops. I've since changed back to die-cast hoops. It sounded really good with wood hoops, but they were huge. They were like this wide. I only found one snare drum stand in the entire world that I could actually put the snare on, because it was just too big for every other snare drum stand. And also I ended up with my hips getting quite strained just to keep them wide enough to get around the drum. So eventually it sounded good, but I gave up and went back to a normal room. 22 by 16 kick. That's birch as well. I always like birch kick drums. There's something punchy, extra punchy about birch, which is cool. Everything has Evans heads on. The snare's got the Evans heavyweight, which I think is fantastic. It's for Frank's music, most of the stuff it's like supposed to be quite rocking and powerful, and that does it for that. G2's on the toms, which are great, and I've got the calf tone EMAD on the kick, which I really like. All of the cymbals are Sabians. I'm a Sabian endorser. I've used Sabians for absolutely ever. In fact, this cymbal here, I think that was the first Sabian cymbal I bought, and I bought that in 1994. It's a 21-inch dry ride, and it's still going strong. All hail. This thing I really like. Years ago, I had this incredibly cheap, tiny cymbal, and I went to the guys at Sabian. It broke eventually, and I said to the guys at Sabian, "Can you try and copy it?" And they made this thing, and it's wonderful. I love stuff that goes ting, basically. And that just has a real kind of zing shimmer to it, which I really like. It's a 16-inch crash. with another thing that goes ting on top. 10-inch splash. I polished them a lot, so I've actually polished all the logos off, so I can't remember which range they're from. Sorry. Except this one, my favourite, 21-inch AA dry ride. 18-inch crash over here, and then an 18-inch China, and a gorgeous pair of HH flat hats, which I really love. I got a pair of them in the UK when they were at the prototype stage, and I was like, these are mine. So I got another set for over here. I use ProMark. They're actually, look at that, they've got my name on. These are oak sticks, which I used hickory for an awfully long time, and then I switched to these oak ones, just tried them out. I really like round ends, round tips. But these oak sticks, they last like absolute bastards. Like my hickory ones, I'd go through a set, we play a 2-hour set, and I'd go through a pair of sticks about once every 2 or 3 shows. These, I don't even know how many shows I've been using this for. The kind of downside is the oak sticks, they don't whittle away and eventually become weak. They just last and last and last and eventually break. So you don't know when they're finally going to go, that's it, I'm done, and they splinter into 1,000 pieces in your hand. But I love them to death. I can't remember what the actual models are because I put my name on and taken the model off. But they're oak 808s maybe? I can't remember, something like that. But they're wonderful. The mics, they're a mixture of all sorts. Basically, I leave that mostly to the sound guys. I've recorded my own drums and mic'd my own drums, and I know what I like, but it's his gig as a sound man. So it's Sennheiser overheads and Sennheisers on the toms. There's a 57 beta on the top snare. Outside on the kick, there's the Audix D6, which is, I love that mic. It makes, I have a lot of that in my in-ears, and it sounds great. In-ears, we all use the same ones. They're JH13s by JH Audio, and I love them. I've actually used in-ears for an awfully long time, since I think the first tour I used them was 1999, which you probably weren't born by, I don't know. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I like it's kind of perverse for a drummer, but I like playing a gig and the noise in my ears being about the sound of a quite polite iPod. So that's good. Hardware is mostly Gibraltar. It's a 6000 series hi-hat, which I really like. This stand here, I wanted something that could do 2 toms and 2 little cymbals that go ting at the same time, and Gibraltar were the only people that did one of them. The rest of the hardware is kind of a mishmash of stuff that I've had over the years. My main pedal of the Pearl 2000 series. I have an identical kit in the UK as out here, and I've got another pair of these pedals there. And that was just based on playing pedals, and the one that felt nicest to me and I felt best playing was what I chose. For this tour with Frank, there's a lot more bits and pieces, electronic stuff happening. So I got the new Roland SPD SX, and there's all sorts. So I trigger stuff off the pads here. I've got a trigger on the snare for some of the songs to beef up that sound. Under there's a trigger on the kick, so there's triggered kick and snare sounds. I also have, if I want just electronic kick on its own, I've got this Roland kick pedal down here, and also just to complete it, I've got another Roland pad over there. So it just gives me as many options as I could possibly need. It also, we do quite a lot of the set to click, and this does all of the clicks as well. So it's like track, triggers, clicks, everything happening in the Roland SPD SX. And it was a bit of a technical challenge to get it all really working as we wanted, but I think it's all good now. It's my favourite throne in the world. It's the Gibraltar 9608, and I don't like them to be too comfortable. I don't understand people who have kind of thrones with like backs and arms and stuff, and they look like they're kind of going to sleep. I always prefer just like something round that's pushing me forward onto the kit and making me feel like I'm really doing something. But this is just right. It's comfortable enough so that for a 2-hour show I don't walk off feeling like I've had my ass whipped. But it's just kind of business. It's a business time store. Thanks for checking out the gear. Make sure you check out the new Frank Turner record, Be More Kind, which is out everywhere now. And we're on tour, as we always are, across the world.